أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome everyone. Today we're taking a really beautiful, reflective journey into the spiritual physics of Surah al-Taghābun. Specifically, we'll be exploring verses 11 through 13. We're going to look at both the outer, lahir, meanings from our classical scholars, and the inner, batin wisdom of the Sufi path. It's just a profound look at how a believer's heart is actually supposed to navigate the unexpected. So let's open our hearts and dive right in.
I actually want to start by asking you a really direct question. Think of a recent loss, maybe a rejection or just a sudden sweeping change. How did you process it? You know, when an unexpected calamity just completely reroutes your life in a single afternoon, how do you interpret that event? I'd love for you to bring a specific personal difficulty into your heart right now as we walk through this explainer together. Let's not pick a hypothetical here. Pick something real, something you're actively carrying today.
To really understand how the Qur'an addresses this, we first have to look at the Arabic word musibah. A musibah is an unexpected calamity, a misfortune, or a sudden loss that strikes a person's life. But what's absolutely crucial to grasp here is that the Qur'an explicitly asks us not to view a musibah as random chaos. Instead, it's actually the beginning of a profound spiritual transformation. It's not an accident, you see. It's an arrival.
Okay, let's look at the foundational text. Verse 11 tells us, "No misfortune can happen without God's permission. God will guide the heart of whoever believes in him. God knows all things." The great classical scholar al-Tabari explains the outer, zahir meaning of this beautifully. He says that absolutely nothing reaches a creature without first passing through the gate of divine permission, or even the sudden illness, the financial loss, the small everyday humiliation, or the massive catastrophe. They literally all have to pass through this exact same gate.
And this illustrates the choice we have in how we read our wounds. If we experience affliction without recognizing that divine permission, well, it just feels like random chaos, or maybe just a cruel punishment. But when we recognize the Ibn, it suddenly transforms into a guided message from the permitter. The scholar Ibn Kathir points out something so fascinating about this verse. It says, God guides his heart, yahdi qalbahu, not just his outward situation. It's like belief acts as a spiritual optical instrument. When that belief meets the calamity, the heart is suddenly able to see the inner guidance hiding right there inside the wound itself.
That outer understanding perfectly sets the stage for the inner, batin, spiritual meaning. The great Sufi master Salah al-Tustari offered this incredibly gorgeous insight. He said that a trial is, from the outside, a wound, but from the inside, it is the unmistakable knock of the one caller. The true practice of adab, of spiritual etiquette, is simply to listen. When the calamity arrives, it's really an invitation for the heart to recognize who is truly calling you in that exact moment.
Which brings us to the actual discipline of tawakkul, or deep trust. Al-Qushayri outlined 3 grades of this trust, and they're so helpful. Level 1 is trusting God will provide the necessary means to get through it. Level 2 is trusting that whatever arrives actually is the provision itself. And the third, the highest grade, is the pure recognition that only God exists to be trusted in the first place. As Al-Ghazali explains it, true reliance is only psychologically possible when we stop seeing the world as a chaotic system of competing causes, money, doctors, our bosses, and realize there is only one sovereign we are ever actually transacting with.
And that leads us directly into verse 12. Obey God and obey the messenger. If you turn away, remember that our messenger's duty is only to deliver the message clearly. The absolutely crucial point here is the profound boundary this sets up for us. It answers a question I think plagues so many of us. How much are we truly responsible for when we try to guide, teach, or, let's be honest, try to fix the people we desperately love?
The answer is al-balagh al-mubin, the clear conveying. This is the absolute ultimate boundary of human responsibility. I want to gently apply this to the anxious heart of a parent, a spouse, or a friend who's carrying the incredibly heavy weight of trying to change someone else. Even the Prophet himself was bound by this rule. Your only duty is the clear conveying of the message. You must release the outcome entirely to the one who hears. Learning to release that control is just such an essential part of our inner purification, our tazkiyah. So, we have to ask ourselves, what is the hidden architecture that connects a calamity directly to a trusting heart? How do these concepts actually wire together? Well, the ancient science of abjad numerology reflects this spiritual journey beautifully. It shows us how the very letters and numbers of the Qur'an reveal the path of the soul. Check out how this builds arithmetically in the abjad system. Musiba, the calamity, carries a digital root of 3, a witnessing encounter. Idn, the divine permission, is 4, the foundational architecture. But look at these last 2 terms. Qalb, the heart, reduces to 6, and tawakkul, trust, also reduces to 6. I mean, this is just an exquisite spiritual equation. Through belief, the heart seamlessly transforms into trust. It changes its direction entirely towards God without losing its center or its equilibrium. It stays at 6.
What's amazing is that this timeless theology is perfectly mirrored in modern psychology. The psychologist Julian Rotter identified something called a locus of control. In a purely secular framework, having an external locus of control, meaning you believe things just happen to you from outside forces, leads to total helplessness and fatalism. But researchers have found that a theistic meaningful externality, meaning you see God's permission, the idn, behind the event, that completely cures the fatalism. It's a game changer. It produces incredible resilience, meaning, and active trust.
In fact, researchers Tedeschi and Calhoun have documented 5 distinct domains of post-traumatic growth: a new appreciation of life, deeper relationships, personal strength, new possibilities, and profound spiritual change. Their scientific research literally validates what the Qur'an is telling us. The single strongest predictor of growth after trauma is having a meaning-making framework. And that is exactly what the believing heart does when it recognizes divine permission. It converts trauma from random, meaningless chaos into a highly meaningful spiritual trajectory.
Now we have to remember, this trust is not passive at all. As the famous prophetic tradition, which Maulana Rumi beautifully expanded upon, tells us, tie your camel and trust in God. This perfectly blends cognitive reappraisal with secure attachment theory. We absolutely take action. We do the work, we make the preparations, we tie the camel, but our heart rests entirely and securely in trusting the one who keeps the camel. The working hand and the trusting heart operate as one unified organism.
And this brings us to verse 13, the ultimate realization of this whole cluster. God, there is no God but Him. Let the believers put their trust in God. This verse grounds everything we've talked about in Tawheed, the absolute oneness of God. Tawakkul, trust, isn't just a generic, warm religious feeling. It is the operational signature of recognizing that there is only one sovereign. Think about it. If there is only one ledger, one office, and literally one signature on every single permission slip of life, then absolute trust is the only logical posture to take.
So how do we actually live this out? Well, here is some practical heart guidance, 3 quiet practices of adab and tazkiyah for us to try in the week ahead. First, practice your dhikr of awareness. Each evening, just name one divine permission, one idhn from your day, without resisting it. Just acknowledge it. Second, deliberately release a specific outcome you've been trying to tightly control. Just let it go. And third, state your boundary in your relationships. Remind yourself, only the conveying is upon me, and release the heavy burden of the outcome.
I invite you right now to just take a deep breath, drop your shoulders a bit, and look at that specific difficulty you brought to mind at the very beginning of this explainer. Say softly to yourself with pure ikhlas, pure sincerity, "Wa 'ala Allahi tawakkaltu." Upon God I have placed my trust. Release your heavy burdens to the one who lovingly and perfectly governs all outcomes.
Let's close our time together with this quiet munajat. O permitter of every wound that finds my door, guide the heart of one who learns to read your hand. Make my obedience clear, my conveying brief, and place my whole trust where my whole trust can stand. Amin. Compiled with gratitude by Mir Ali Shah, a seeker sharing through the Living the Wisdom of the Quran podcast. We humbly ask forgiveness and acceptance from the Almighty, and I sincerely ask your forgiveness for any mispronunciations or slight errors made by this AI voice today. May your hearts be guided and may your trust be firmly anchored. I'm going to leave you with this question to ponder. What camel are you finally ready to tie, and what heavy outcome are you finally ready to release?